Hi, I'm Simon and welcome to the 10th episode of How Far on One Life. Today I'm going to be playing a game from 1991 created by Technos. And this is a game based on something that in the real world I don't particularly like, but I felt it made for a good and enjoyable game. So let me start just by telling you where I used to play, because in a previous episode I talked about my local ice rink and how I used to go there to not ice skate but to play on the numerous arcade games that they had. Well, there was another place in town that was not an arcade and I used to go there to play games. It was Quasar. Now, those of you that are outside the UK or Ireland might not know of Quasar. You might know it as Qzar, which I think it was called in the States. It's basically laser tag, and I enjoyed Quasar, but I wasn't very good at it. So most of the time when I went down there, I'd spend my money on the video games. They used to have 15 or 20 arcade games in the lobby, and the game I'll be looking at today was one of those games, and it used to sit next to my favourite game at that time, Street Fighter 2 The World Warrior. So I used to spend a lot of, well, not a lot of money, but out of my money that I had to spend on video games, the lion's share probably went into Street Fighter 2 in the early 90s. But next to it was this game, WWF WrestleFest. And although I didn't play it as much, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot, actually. It normally worked out to be fairly good value for money. But as I said, based on something that I don't really like, wrestling, especially, well, no, all kinds of wrestling, but the WWF. And yeah, for me, I could never suspend my disbelief enough. I could never get over the fact that it was so scripted and staged. Sure, the spectacle of it, these big guys picking up other big guys and throwing each other around the ring, you know, athletically very interesting, but it just used to wind me up, the way they're trying to convince you that it's real. And it used to wind me up even more when friends of mine wouldn't agree, or just wouldn't they wouldn't believe it, that it was faked or staged. Even adults. I can remember my friend's grandfather insisting that it wasn't staged. You know, here we had a guy who was probably in his 50s at the time. But anyway, that, you know, that the whole staged element of it used to get on my nerves. And so, but I did watch it. I did watch it because I wanted to sort of keep up with conversations with my friends. A lot of my friends liked it, and one of my friends in particular loved it, and he was obsessed with it. He'd have posters of Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior and other people on his walls. He would always watch it when it was on television, and he would buy the WrestleMania tapes and things that they had and watch those relentlessly. But my memory of the real WWF was Saturday mornings, Sky Channel, when Sky used to be just a channel, not a network of channels, when it was only, for me, only available on the local cable service. I think it was before we had satellite dishes, or at least Sky satellite dishes in the UK. And yeah, Saturday mornings was always the DJ Cat Show. So that was something I used to love. I don't know if any of you guys remember, you probably do. The DJ Cat Show was so different to a lot of British TV programmes, in that Saturday mornings was always a sort of 3-hour live TV show with all sorts of different things going on, which were, you know, interesting. But I used to love cartoons, and if they ever had a cartoon, it would be sort of a 20-minute cartoon split in half to force you to watch the whole programme. They'd put one bit near the beginning of the programme and the second half in the second half of the programme. Whereas the DJ Cat Show was a puppet cat and a pretty blonde woman introducing cartoon after cartoon after cartoon. And Transformers was my favourite cartoon when I was sort of 13, 14, 15. And well, probably older than that as well. I still like Transformers. I think they're quite a cool thing. But so I used to watch the DJ Cat Show for that, but after the DJ Cat Show came wrestling. WWF, I can't remember whether it was 11 o'clock or midday. You know, I used to watch it, but I can just remember how much it used to wind my dad up. He used to hate all of the commentary. I mean, obviously the staged element of it, the fakeness of it all was more evident to my father, even more so than it was to me. But the commentary just used to drive him crazy. The way they used to get so enthused and excited about something that was scripted. Oh my God, I can't believe it. Hulk Hogan is getting back up off the canvas. He's making a comeback. Yeah, that kind of thing. It was like, oh, yeah. It used to grate on me, but my dad, who just, that's it. He'd go straight out of the room if the wrestling was on. He couldn't stand it. But all that said and done about not particularly liking wrestling as a game, I think it's a subject that works really well in video games. And this is a game, it can be a 4-player, but I've only played the 2-player version of it. And it has sort of normal tag matches, and it has what we're going to be looking at today, the Royal Rumble. But those of you who've played it before probably thinking, well, how does this fit into How Far on One Life? And yeah, you're right, you've got me. It isn't, you don't have lives in this game, but you do have an energy bar and a time limit. So what I'm going to be doing is seeing how well I can do within the constraints of my energy or the time limit to see how many of the enemies, well, other wrestlers I can defeat. So let's take a look. So we're going to see some of the famous faces, Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, and lots of people who I have long since forgotten. Okay. So this game gives you 2 options. You can play in a tag match, which is often the better value for money. But I like the Royal Rumble just as I do with real wrestling. I think that was one of the only things I liked. And the Ultimate Warrior was always my favourite character. His kind of neon-clad craziness and his Bon Jovi haircut was always quite amusing, and it still is. So, it's a simple game, a button masher, 2 buttons, punch button and kick button, which deal out, obviously, the obvious attacks, but bashing the buttons allows you to take control of a grapple situation. So let's see here. So I've got him now in a headlock. I can do something else with him. I don't know what that's, a body slam is that, and a pile driver. Or I can batter the kick button and throw him against the ropes. And when they're on the floor, you can pick them up by their hair. Oh, gorilla press, Warrior's special move. Or you can stomp on them. And I think you can actually get them in a submission move. But when they're like this, you can, well, I didn't. You can start to pin them. When they're lying horizontally across the canvas, they still need a bit of a beating. But when they start lying diagonally, that means they're ready to be pinned. Okay. Okay, there's one of them out of there. Okay. So let's see if I can flatten him there with like a pancake. 2. You're out of there, Mr. Bondage Gear. Alright, Hulk Hogan. Alright, he might be ready for a beating as well. Oh, now what happened there? Surely I should have pinned him. No. Ah, come on. Let's get Hulk Hogan out of here. Okay, power slam, that's what that's called. Oh. So I think the faster you bash the buttons, the better chance you have of like getting control of the grapple situation, but sometimes it feels like I'm bashing the buttons as fast as I possibly can, and it makes no difference. Okay. And you can also, as this is Royal Rumble, you can throw them out of the ring, but it occasionally happens that I manage to get them to the edge of the ring and pick them up for a body slam, but often it just ends up throwing them back in towards the centre of the ring again. But the other characters... and another thing, you can put a sleeper hold on them. Okay. So throw him against the ropes and do a power slam. God, this is almost as hard work as actually wrestling, bashing away at these buttons. Oh, it's just a 2 count. How about him? Can I get him into submission? Yes, you're out of there. How about this guy? Pile driver. Okay. Body power slam. See, this is so much better than real wrestling. Looks like they're getting hurt. 2. Oh yeah, you're out of there. See, he really is the ultimate warrior. He's sending them all to the hospital. Right, who's next? Nobody. Come on. Oh no. Mr. Perfect. Oh. He reversed it there and slammed me. Now he's... Oh. Time over. Plenty of power still left, but it's game over. Run out of time after only beating 3 of the enemies. Or other wrestlers, as they really are. Okay, so ranked 6. Not too bad, I suppose. And there we go. Yeah, okay. Winners don't use drugs. Yeah. That seems to contradict what I've heard about quite a few WWF wrestlers, so maybe they were going for irony here. We used to see this a lot back in the day, didn't you? In the 90s, the winners don't use drugs, FBI seal. Don't really see it on games these days. I wonder why. Did they figure out that lots of winners do actually use drugs? I wonder. Anyway, it was quite a good run. I couldn't really expect it to do much better with that time limit restriction, because of course at the end I still had a full bar of energy, yet the game ended. That time limit can only be increased by putting in more credits, even though you don't need the credits because you're doing okay at the game. To continue it, you've got to put in more money. That kind of sucks, but it gives you enough to see what sort of game it is, and maybe you get an idea why it's something that from time to time I like to play again. I still enjoy the manic button mashing that this game is. So as usual, I'd love to hear what you have to say about it. Have you played this game before? Do you like it? Do you hate it? What do you think about wrestling? Maybe you're a big wrestling fan, or maybe you can't stand it. I'd love to know. So, thank you very much for watching. From my spare room to wherever you are, this is Simon signing off. Bye-bye.